Hello, I'm Shell, and here I will show you how I usually go about my digital painting process. So, the first thing I do is I look at my monitor and digest this code, because I have to set an optimistic mindset before drawing, or else I wouldn't get anything done at all. So, after looking at the monitor for a few seconds, I go find some music that I can jam to while drawing because, well, music gives me inspirations. I have a lot of playlists on Spotify, but I tend to lean more on the drawing inspirations up there that I compiled over a week ago, I think. So, yeah. So I'm gonna start some music now, and I'll try not to be as boring as I can be. So, before starting digital painting, I usually start with sketching in traditional, just to set the character moods and their expressions, sceneries, composition, especially, and then I scan it with a scanner at 300 dpi, I think, so that I'll have no trouble resizing it later. So the right page that you're seeing is what we're gonna do later. Uh, and I hope to finish it so that it's a win-win situation. So, I opened a big canvas, like 2000 pixels big, at 200 dpi. I usually use 300, but inside I use 200 because my monitor tends to, side tends to lag actually. So, I think I'm having tablet problems here right now, so let's just don't mind that. And so the brushes I had are actually from other people's brushes because Sai, it's my first time using Sai, and well, not really the first time, but I'm fairly new to Sai, so I have no idea what to use. So I get brush settings from other people, and I usually name them, like, for example, Shade V means shading brush from Viria, or Flats Oni. It's actually Flats Onisu. It's a brush for flat colors from Onisu. So yeah, I do weird names like that. I tend to vary the settings a lot, so it's not the same as the one that I've gotten it from. It's a completely different brush. But so, well, the shade JT is from Johanna Damad, another pretty great artist on Tumblr. So I usually used pencil for this. I don't have no idea why the video is lagging. I think it's because of internet connection problems, but yeah. So I just do squiggly lines to get reacquainted with my tablet. Believe me when I say that every time I use the tablet, it's like a new experience for me. It's as if I wasn't using it for 6 hours yesterday, so I had to reacquaint myself with the tablet. It'll be short, I think. I don't really, what do you call this? Put too much time in squiggling, just get the feel of tablet. And when I feel comfortable enough, I go on and work on the drawing. So you can actually skip this because, well, if you don't want to see any more squiggly lines. And my horrible voice, horrible monotonous voice, and the weird accent that I'm having. Sorry for the weird accent I'm having. Anyway, okay, so the reason I actually started using Sai is because Photoshop doesn't let me, or I couldn't get the output that I want when I used Photoshop. Even though I've been using Photoshop for years, it's like a whole new world again in terms of the digital painting side. So I tried a new software. I actually known Sai from before, but it never appealed to me because, well, I'm a hardcore Photoshop user before. So I thought, why not try Sai? So I did, and I'm actually surprised because, well, first of all, when I tried Sai the first time, well, all of my settings are thrown out of the window. I had to reset some Windows keys so that whenever I use, well, I'm accustomed to Photoshop settings, so whenever I use Sai, it's like I'm using Photoshop as well. Actually, doing this for a friend because she's also an art nerd like me. Anyway, so I think my monitor is okay now, and I've done my squiggly things. So let me just open the artwork that we're gonna do. I actually had a sketch of it already because, well, I've been working on that for about a month already, and I'm so slow. I need to step up my speed game. So I usually use a colored canvas rather than the pure white because white hurts my eyes. Plus, it helps with the, well, with the what to call this, with the colors that I'm gonna use later on. So I usually do a rough draft, not caring about proportion or anything like that, but with as much detail as possible. And then after rough draft, so I put a new layer on top, and I lower the opacity of the sketch layer, and this layer on top that I'm gonna work on is actually a pre-line, just so I can block in the major what do you call this, major lines in the sketch, because the sketch looks jungle. So here's one of the hardest parts in digital painting, because it's like you have to draw it all over again, and I usually do this twice. One is called pre-line, and after the pre-line I'm doing the final lines finally. So the final lines, the pre-line actually is some sort of a rough sketch still, but with cleaner lines and more defined what do you call this, more defined anatomy and, well, lines. So you can actually skip this because I'll just probably bore you and stuff. And anyway, so it's not an easy process, to be honest. I had to use Control Z a lot of times, and I had to abuse Control Z actually. Doing lines is pretty much a nightmare to me because it's a long and painful process of uh, building up lines and doing Control Z, and the worst case scenario, erasing it because it doesn't feel right, or uh, it looks weird or something like that. And it takes a long time for me to actually block in lines correctly, and, well, it really takes a toll on speed, to be honest, but it's worth it in the end, and I'm trying to practice getting better at doing lines. Maybe sometime soon I'll skip the pre-line and just go straight to line art, because sometimes I'm lazy, and if I get really good, I mean, if I have this feel good thing in my hands, like I can draw anything, I usually do that. But right now I'm doing pre-line and it's nighttime. Well, I'm recording this the following day, but I'm drawing this, I guess, last night. So yeah, Control C is very very much abused in this episode. So in every drawing actually, and I actually had it on my tablet express keys. At the same time, I'm using my keyboard Control C. So that's how important Control C is. And what the good thing about this is that it doesn't seem to have a limit, I think, and unlike Photoshop, so it's easy for me to do Control C, and I just have to click Control Z. I don't have to click press any other keys. Like in Photoshop, you press Control Shift C to go back to previous history settings or whatever. So in this pre-line process that I'm doing, I'm not too concerned about the overlapping lines or the awkward, what do you call this, hanging lines, and I'm trying to get the general shape actually of the eyes, the eyelids, the eyebrows, the mouth, the nose, and sorry for that awful tricycle sound. Anyway, so basically it's the same process all over again, trial and error with the lines, and blocking in major shapes like the mouth, facial features, the body, hands, yeah. So can actually skip this because there's just much what they call this, crying over the lines, especially in the face, and yeah. So I know I still have a lot of ways to go in terms of the fundamentals in drawing, like proportion, perspective, maybe negative spaces. I can't remember. I was reading a book entitled "Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain" by Betty Edwards, and it's a really good book. It was suggested by Saikar Yasin, a really great artist on YouTube, and he also provides lots of tutorials, free tutorials, about how to go on anatomy, shapes, especially color. I learned color theory from him, and ever since that color theory video, I've changed the way I look at colors actually. So as you can see, what I'm doing right now is I'm adjusting lines, eyelids, whatever, because as I'm drawing, I tend to overthink everything. Like maybe this line should go a little bit lower, or maybe I should have put this angled it like this, or and most of the time when overthinking does it for me, I erase everything. Like I know it's a lot of work, honestly, and it's just the face, and we're at around what, 10 minutes already, and there's still much more to do. Hands, especially hands. So I also tend to change things up a bit, especially as I go through. I mean, that's what is pre-line is for. I mean, at least for me, it doesn't have to stick to the original sketch which I've drawn in traditional. And usually when I discover lots of things as I do pre-line, like, oh, I can make the eyebrows face this way so that the expression would be even more pronounced or something like that. And then sometimes when I feel good about it, I try not to overthink now and look towards another questionable, what they call this, facial feature, like the mouth a while ago. So now I'm doing the hair, which is one of the worst things. Well, actually, I don't mind doing hair, except that this character's hair is really unruly. Like, does he even use a comb or something? But, well, that's how the mangaka actually draws him. So there's nothing I could do. And sorry, just changing up the music. Okay, so hair is one of the most hardest part of drawing, yeah, for me at least. So I use a special layer for the hair, like a layer away from a layer separate from a line, from the line art, from the main line art, just because this is the part where I tend to control Z a lot, like super a lot, as you can see. And sometimes because of it's a freehand drawing, so, and I have to make sure that the hair doesn't look stiff and everything, so it has to have curves. And because of the awkward workspace that I have right now, well, yeah, it doesn't I take so much time doing hair actually, and especially the hair of this character. If you look at some of his references, his hair is really unruly. It might look like that it's okay to draw, like, oh, it's easy, I just have to curves like this, and but when you actually draw it, it's nightmare. But when you do it right, but so I tend to agonize over his hair a lot, rather unlike the other characters that I'm drawing. So yeah, because I believe that the right hair can what am I saying? I believe that the right hair can contributes to how accurate you can make the character look like uh, he is, or something like that. Well, aside from the facial features, I mean, that's what I usually do. I really try to nail the hair down so that even though the eyes may not look as what do you call this, as accurate as the character's real eyes, at least there's the hair, which is the crowning glory. And of course, the first thing that people usually notice about other people, whether they are looking, whether they are positioned or looking at from the back of the head or something like that. Yeah. So I'm babbling nonsense. So I'm still not accustomed to sigh. Like I mix up most of my brush settings. Like I know I wanted an eraser, but I would press the wrong button and then I would, instead of erasing, I would brush over something. And it's not cool because I'm gonna move my hands to Control Z again and gonna reposition my fingers over the brush keys, and it's a long and arduous process. So now I'm trying to go over the body anatomy shape. There's something about sketches that, oh, it looks okay in a sketch, but when you actually do the lines, it tends to look a bit weird. That's like right now, the shoulder blade is protruding. When I was looking at it in sketch, it feels okay, but when you actually do the lines in there, it's doesn't look okay. So I tend to change things up a bit, and in the end, the sketch looks nothing like the final drawing. But that's okay because it means that you're really what they call this, focusing on what you want, or what I want, or what you want the viewers to see. So that's what's important, because it's a long process anyway. A lot of crying, and I did mention that it involves a lot of crying. Sometimes when I get frustrated with doing line or pre-line, I tend to leave it as it is. Maybe sleep for a few hours, or just rest, or do something other than drawing. Then when I get back, I'm like, oh, okay, this should be drawn like this, and then everything would be okay again. Uh, well, I've mentioned about art blocks, and to be honest, it took me like 3 days to get over it because, well, I think the most challenging thing that I did with or that I learned from anatomy would be the hands. Like, how do I make this thing look the way it is? It's just hard, and it took a lot of researching for the correct, not really the correct, but a very helpful hand tutorial, because I've seen a lot of hand tutorial, like to block, how to break down the hands into geometrical shapes, and I've tried them. Well, they're only as good as being a reference, but I found this nice tutorial wherein instead of using 2D shapes, we the author, or yeah, the author of the tutorial used what do you call this, 3D shapes to indicate the parts of the hands, like the fingers, the hand mass, and the wrist part. So I've been using that, and it's really helpful. It's okay to use your own hands to for a reference, but then again, I feel that you're going to imprint your identity to the character that you're drawing, which is not good. Not really not good, but how do I say this? I don't know. I just don't feel like putting putting the design of my hand on a fictional character. Like, I want to create their hands or mimic the how the original author or mangaka does do their hands. So yeah, I try not to use my hand as reference, but uh, I still use it in case that there are no pictures from Google or I just couldn't do it. Like, how do you do this? So yeah, just gonna block in the hands. I'm not particularly careful right now. Like, I just want to get the general shape of everything, and like any other parts of the body that I'm pre-lining, I also tend to erase a lot, especially if it doesn't look that way. And sometimes it makes me feel like, no, uh, I don't want to erase that because I've worked hard on it. I've worked hard doing that position. Then just for me to erase it, no, no, no. But uh, I realized that if I don't do that, like if I don't get over my fear of redoing things, I'll never really discover anything. So I try to. That's why, yeah, anatomy is very, very important, and I still have yet to learn a lot. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to evaluate how it looks right now, and it seems okay. So this part of the, what they call this, drawing with balancing, I this is the first time I'm doing that. Actually, I just uh, started doing that last night, and well, the point of balancing is I look at my so I told you, I was evaluating the artwork a while ago, and it seems a bit what they call this, in proportionate or something like that, or it doesn't look okay. Like, I think there's something wrong, so I try to sketch a bit or get the center line of the body or something like that, and check whether everything is in line or nothing, or if there's something awkward. I tend to flip everything horizontally so that it looks the same left and right, instead of, like the way in traditional I use the mirror to check whether the thing that I'm drawing is okay, because sometimes it looks okay in one side, but when you flip it in another view, it looks different. So I also pay attention to that, and that's why I use the balancer to something. It's nothing special, and it can be skipped if you're not too particular of the proportions and everything. So yeah, I actually had to cut this short because I had to run an errand, so it's only around 30 minutes long. There'd be another video where I do the final lines, change things up a bit, and block in the base colors. And I'll probably talk about colors, but there'd be less voiceover narrations than in this video. So yeah, see you later. See you later, alligator.
No, there's no life after you.